hi Hoglai.
Hi, Adrian.
Yeah. Hey, for everyone that's here joining us today, thank you so very much for investing the time again. Okay, so before I get into the session proper, I just wanted to express word of thanks lah. I know today we got Hoglai here, and I think he's a very special guest for a number of reasons. So one of the reasons that I found him to be so interesting is just simply because of his background, right? For those of you who checked out his LinkedIn profile, you probably see what I mean. I think for myself, in a time where my conversations with fintech leaders and founders, they tend to be a certain much sort of, how do I say this, younger age group, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. It's also quite refreshing to have Hoglai, who's got he's been around the block for so very long. So I found that his perspectives be very valuable today. I also acknowledge that he told me today that he has three such sessions. He finished one right this morning. Ours is the second, and then later he's off to a session at SMU. So I really do appreciate spending that time. How like you spending time with us. Okay, so to kick off the session formally, as some of you may know, my first question always asks about my guest's career, right? Career history. And Hoglai, I want to ask you that same question. But before I do that, I guess in answering the question, there's one particular point that I'm very super curious about, and hopefully the audience also might share that same curiosity. So, in my role as a career advisor and so working with people, one of the things that I sort of observe is that, while there are a lot of tech roles out there, I kind of also see that there are a lot of tech professionals also out there, people who have lost their jobs, due to retirement of legacy systems or offshoring and so on and so forth. So when I looked at your background, Hoglai, for me, from just an outsider's perspective, it seemed that you managed to sort of protect yourself, because in the first 10 years that you were with NTUC, right, I noticed that the last 4 you were doing some sort of like business applications, heading a business applications team, I believe. Huh? I want to find out, the first question is obviously walk us through the career, but how did you manage to protect your career? How did like moving from, like, say, business applications, and again, I'm sorry, I don't really know what that means, right, into these so-called 21st century things like blockchain, FinTech, digitalization, AI, and so on and so forth. Maybe you can give us an idea of how that happened for you.
Yeah, I think that was a role I have, I believe, was in 2009.
Yeah.
I was actually heading business applications team with close to 30 developers under me. Because at that point in time, I'm in charge of developing intranet, extranet applications, core insurance applications, even e-commerce. Because at that point in time, NTUC Income was managing the FairPrice online, the e-commerce portal for NTUC FairPrice.
Yep.
So of course, we were like at least 10 years too early going into the e-commerce space. But I think the pivotal point for me probably will be way back when I was in my JC years, when my father bought me the first computer. I remember it was a IPC brand, a local brand. I think it's no longer around already. It was a 386SX, I believe. So that sparked my interest in computer. In fact, before I joined my NS, right, I was part-timing in various companies, including one that was doing assembly of computers. Yeah. So it means all the while I've been interested in stuff related to computers. Even during my university years, you would have noted that I actually took a real estate major in.
Yes, I wanted to ask you on that one. Yeah. Well,
actually, my ideal career is actually in the architecture, but architecture, I saw that it takes at least 7 years.
Yeah.
So being from not so well-to-do family, I think I have to be more practical. I mean, the closest will be real estate, which is a 4-year program. Interestingly, is that during one of my part-time job during the school vacation, right, I was helping. I mean, actually, I was recruited as a data entry, but I was helping them to actually automate stuff. using Excel macro, VBA, programming. Yeah, so I mean, they are so satisfied that they engage me even after the school holidays. So I remember I did 2 projects writing Excel applications for them, helping them to manage the transition in from their mainframe system into ERP.
Okay.
So I was actually helping them using Excel, which has a much more intuitive user interface for the business users to manage their inventory management.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I'm actually, in a way, I quite liked tech stuff, so that you can see that like since I started work in 1999, but I actually took up a postgraduate diploma in Infocom technology from NTU in 2002. And for those who still remember, right, that was the period of the .com boom and bust lah. So at that point in time, I think everyone wants to do e-commerce, me included. And I think that while I already have some foundation in coding, right, but I want to like officially have that certification so that it's easier for you to move to a different role. So, and because of this, right, I got transferred into the e-commerce department. Hence, during that time, I was actually coding the FairPrice online website. But and then that started my career in while I think I went through, because I joined as a management trainee, something like a management associate program.
Okay.
I went through at least 7 different departments, but every department, usually I focus a lot on helping the department to automate. Yeah. And along the way, right, because I was actually developing quite a number of programs, including one on investment accounting. So that was in 2013, and that sparked my interest in investments. So I took a specialist diploma in fund management and administration from Nanyang Poly at that point in time. And then if you look at the same trajectory, right, I upgraded myself again in 2015. Because I see the increase in computing power, the exponential growth in data and advancement in algorithm. I think data science is going to be quite important. And I've been someone who always tinker with the enterprise data within income. So I went ahead and took a 6 months online data science specialization certificate from Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health. So you can see that now from that point onwards, right, I only took online courses because that online courses are a lot more convenient and you can take it at your own time. Same thing in 2016 with the emphasis on FinTech, right? So I also took up an online FinTech certificate offered by MIT. Yeah, so with all these things, right, it enabled me together with a group of people. We founded the Singapore FinTech Association in 2016. So that's my first foray. But at that point in time, right, I was actually heading this FinTech in NTUC Income. Because in fact, when we started in 2015, we are only a 3-man team. Before I left the team in 2018, it's already grown to about 20 packs. Well, that is, I think, the era of FinTech. So a lot of it is because of my last role as the head of digital office in Income, and also my active involvement in the FinTech ecosystem. As you can see, like I was with the Singapore FinTech Association for 4.5 years. So before I stepped down in March last year, right, our corporate membership actually grew to more than 150, which is quite big for a very niche area like FinTech. In fact, we have more than 60 partnerships in 40 countries. So you can also see that FinTech is something that is quite borderless. Unlike traditional finance, right, I realized traditional finance very much localized to the particular jurisdiction. Yeah, so that's how I started my FinTech journey.
Yeah. So this is very interesting, and I'm sorry to put you on the spot, but something just came into my mind. just a random question lah. For yourself, right? When you were younger and you took these courses, compared to when you're, much more older right now, right? Recently, right? When you take courses, right? Did you? I mean, was there a correlation between taking the course and a suitable outcome as a result of taking that course, or was it difficult as you grow older? And where I'm coming from is basically that oftentimes we see people who are attempting to follow in your footsteps in their own way, right? They take a course, 9-month course, 6-month course, 3-month course, and then after that they try to market those skills out. But maybe it's because of where they are, mid-career is 10 years, 15 years in something slightly different or very different. The weight of that 3, 6-month, 9-month course is not there such that they are able to find something suitable in that thing that they learn lah. So for you, your story sounds as though, I mean, it's incredible because from what I'm hearing, right, I mean, everything that you touched or everything that you picked up, that you learned, that you really were able to make use of that. Was there anything else? I mean, was it all down to luck, or did you have any other sort of like support structure or help that helped you to maximize, showcasing those skills, those talents lah? Sorry to put you on the spot. Don't know whether
no problem.
Yeah.
But I think in the first place, right, I'm someone who is interested in digital, and always I in my own opinion, I think I also have strong business sense. So it's really always about sitting at the intersection between the business and technology. And I think the other thing is that while during my days in income in IDA, the Infocom Development Authority, now it's called GovTech. They were already a lot of corporate training. But I always supplement that with my own training. So the courses that I mentioned previously are all self-funded courses. Because I think that for corporate training, right, very, very often they will align it with the corporate needs and priorities. So nothing wrong with that, because corporates also look for ROI. But I think personally, we have to take charge of our own training also, and see what is out there and getting ourselves prepared for it. So I'm lucky in the sense that I got into technology early. Like I shared my first PC when I was like 17 years old. So that allows me to have a keen sense of like the direction of technology in the business context. Because I recall during my early years, I read a lot of those computer magazines, but I also read a lot of business magazines like Harvard Business Reviews, etc. I mean, so I'm always about business and technology lah. So that in a way helps me in sensing what's next to come.
How did you manage to showcase that lah? Like, so for example, real estate as like the real estate is the degree, right? And then you did all these things, and then all these not say hobbies, these interests that you did on the side, right? How did you manage to showcase these to like companies and okay, you had like total of like 16 odd years at NTUC. But I'm just, again, maybe not sure whether you can give your opinions, but like working with job seekers, right, who have the intention to make that switch into tech, and maybe many of them have interest in it. It's just that the resume or the CV doesn't say that, and then there's no platform for them to show that, actually, I did a lot of this. How does one showcase this deep desire and talent or conviction? What's your opinion on that?
Okay, so if I recollect the first time I joined the workforce, given I was recruited because I was trained in real estate. So actually my first job, right, I was holding 2 roles. The first role is actually in real estate investment in NTUC, because NTUC income, we collect the premium and we have to invest in various asset classes, including real estate. And then in addition, and subsequently I realized the reason why, because I was also thrown into another role to manage information systems. Because then I realized one of my senior actually went for sabbatical leave. Yeah. So and because of my prior training in digital, right, I was able to do my info system job very well. For example, I was able to tap into the enterprise data warehouse and churn out reports within hours, compared to in the past, right? If they go through the IT department, it will take at least 3 to 4 weeks to have a report. So this in a way showcase my flair in digital, and so in many of my subsequent roles is the same thing. I was always able to distinguish myself in terms of being very digitally literate and add value. And it makes it easy for me to get the transfer, because like typically in financial institutions, the business user wants things fast, but usually IT cannot do things fast. So that was, to me, is a gap, and because I was trained in this, right, that puts me into very good state. So I think ultimately, right, it's not about like you go for a 3 months or 6 months course. Really, is like after that 3 months or 6 months, right, you don't, I mean, unless you're very lucky, you don't expect immediately you get your next landing. Find an opportunity to apply your skill sets or volunteer in projects that can allow you to practice.
Okay.
Right? Because ultimately, employers, they are not looking for certificate, they are looking for skills. And the skills can only be acquired by actually practicing.
Yeah. This is a very good point. So I have a question, and I think what you just mentioned is the basis of one part of the next question. So even myself, for the uninitiated here, or the people who are new here to fintech in general, even myself, like, so for example, for myself, when I was at the last SFF, the Singapore FinTech Festival, right, I saw, to me, I just kept thinking fintech is all about payment solutions. I go fintech, I went through the pavilions and I see, this is a payment solution, right? And I'm sure there's sort of like much more than just that. But what other up and coming or hot areas of fintech, for example, do you see sprouting out that we should keep an eye on? And also on the back of what you just mentioned, right, in terms of platforms to showcase, are there any resources or websites or associations that are particularly useful for our friends here to maybe keep an eye out on or learn more?
Okay. Maybe I give a big picture view, a macro picture. Actually, when we started the Singapore FinTech Association in 2016, there were only less than 100 FinTech companies. So last year, before I left, we have more than 1,000. So there's a 10 times growth.
Yeah.
But you are right that most of the time you feel that FinTech maybe is just payments, because actually payments is actually the most mature subsector within FinTech. And it is something that we can easily relate to, because payment is something we use every day. It's just like why NFT is so popular now, because actually NFT is very similar to cryptocurrency, but cryptocurrency has been there for the past 10 years. The only thing is that it's too abstract, people can't relate to. But NFT is something that's very visual, right? A digital collectible art, and people got into it. Okay, but actually, fintech is more than just payments. Maybe I give some statistics related to fintech. I think last year, fintech investment increased by 47% year on year to close to 4 billion. And out of that, right, close to half of them come from blockchain and crypto. Yeah, so that is another emerging area. But if you look at on a worldwide basis, right, the fintech funding was about 210 billion, of which a small portion, 500 million, was contributed by Grab, the Singapore-based ride-hailing company. Payments took up about 25% of that investment, and most of it are because of buy now, pay later. Most of it was because of buy now, pay later. And then for blockchain and crypto took up about 14%. So what's left is 60%. So where did this 60% of investments go? They go into insurtech, or what we call insurance technology. So for example, things like you you could like buy micro insurance when you want. I think Income got a similar product when you take the Grab ride, right? You could buy an insurance just for that ride to cover that ride. Okay, there's
Yes, correct.
part of the investment also goes to this other subsector called regulatory technology. So these are the technology that helps you to automate know your client KYC, right? Onboarding, etc., etc., and also regulatory reporting. And some goes to what we call wealth technology, like online trading. You might have heard of like a Tiger Brokers.
Yes.
Right? Or some of you heard of this app called Robinhood. Zero trading fees. Yeah. And then under wealth tech, there's another very popular category called robo advisor.
Yeah.
So I think in Singapore, there's this company called StashAway, quite popular. And then the rest will go to other more niche area, including cybersecurity, because now as things, as more and more people are going for digital finance, right, then the cybersecurity becomes a key concern. So you can see that actually FinTech is very broad. It's actually very, very broad. As for your question on like how can one learn more, right? To be frank, my most useful resource, right, is two. One is actually in LinkedIn, because like by being connected with other top leaders in this space, right, when you browse your feed, right, you get connected to what they are reading. So I mean, the like-minded people will read similar information. So LinkedIn is one of the very important sources. The other thing is also being in touch with the industry, right? We join various chat groups, right? Then you get to see what's happening. So this thing is really about crowdsourcing the intelligence. Yeah. And then of course, like you could join associations like Singapore FinTech Association, Blockchain Association Singapore as an individual member, and you get plugged into the community, not just to learn about learning about new insights in the industry development, but more importantly, actually, is to network.
Yes.
Yeah, because I remember when I was in Singapore FinTech, so we conducted a few FinTech talent survey. Every year, one thing stood out. 80%, more than 80% of the jobs are found through networking, not through your newspaper.
Agree. Yeah, agree. I mean, I think that's the networking piece is super critical. Are there actually like Telegram groups and things like that for you know for news or getting plugged in, apart from joining the associations like blockchain or SFA? Are there any maybe those like phone like Telegram groups? Do they exist right now? Do you know?
I know that in Singapore FinTech Association there is a FinTech club that that has a Telegram group So, but then you must join as a member first.
As a member first,
Yeah, actually, to me is that like in LinkedIn there are also many such groups available. And if like if IBF is interested, I don't mind helping to set up a Telegram group on FinTech. Yeah, something to consider.
Something definitely to consider. Okay, so the next question would be helping the people here who are in transition right now. Maybe make sense of the landscape lah. Like what in your opinion are there any general skills, right, or maybe technical or soft skills that really will help people transition into FinTech? And I know that you mentioned FinTech is very broad, but the whole idea of whatever tech, like InsurTech, RegTech, whatever it is there any general skills, competencies you feel are just really very useful, right? Because as I said, a lot of the people, and I don't know who are our friends here, but they probably come from very varied backgrounds. So just some idea. And just also another caveat is that very likely they are not going to be like very deep tech type people. So that means data science, for example, is out. So is there any other sort of roles like low-hanging fruit or lower barriers to entry within the ecosystem that maybe our friends can keep an eye out for? Any thoughts?
Okay, so one of the common misconception is that people thought that when you are in FinTech, everything must be tech roles. Through our, when I was the president for the Singapore FinTech Association, we launched a job portal. So based on the data from the job portal and based on our various survey, right? So largely the profile of the staff in the FinTech companies is like this, right? About 40% will be software developers or even business analysts. About 20% will be in business development, marketing, and sales. Another 10% will be your data analysts, data scientists. And then the remaining 30% will be spread to like operations, compliance, accounting, finance, and HR. So that's a makeup. Obviously, like if I combine software developer and data scientists together, about half will be tech roles lah. But you still have the other half that are non-tech roles. Having said that, in order to do the non-tech roles, right, you must still understand FinTech. You must still understand the underlying technologies that a FinTech company use, whether is it artificial intelligence, big data, cloud computing, blockchain. So you still need that fundamental understanding. And then, of course, like if you are originating from financial services industry, you will have some subject matter knowledge, things related to like compliance. Will help you in getting roles in these FinTech companies. Having said that, FinTech companies are also a bit unique from our usual big financial institutions because typically they are small teams. In fact, the median size of a FinTech company is probably around 10 to 15 techs. So very small team. And likely they also have outsourced or they have their tech team in some other country. So it's going to be a remote team. So what it means is that you need to have very good soft skills to communicate with them. Okay. And also it's all about problem solving because like being a small team, right, you're expected to be able to multitask. Or if you are able to multitask, right, you will stood out from the rest. Yeah, so really first and foremost, right, there are non-tech roles in FinTech companies. In fact, half of them are non-tech roles. Hard skills, foundational understanding is important. Soft skills, very important because of the culture and the size of the teams in a FinTech company and the way they run the company.
Okay.
Yeah.
And okay, so on the back of that, another question. Don't mean to ambush you, but I want to tap into your experience as a SFA president last time, right? When you work with the FinTech, let's say the founders or what, right? And I guess maybe they're a bit young, I would say. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe a bit younger crowd. And then knowing that the size of the firms are, as you mentioned, quite small, right? I want to talk about the elephant in the room. The elephant in the room is basically about the age thing, okay? Do you feel that the age matters? I mean, sorry to say, but do you think that it affects someone's chances of being hired into FinTech? And I only ask because, as I said, the topic of today's session is the mid-career, which means to say they are the people that we work with, late 30s, 40s, and so on and so forth. And exacerbated by my belief that, FinTechs tend to have that youthful energy. What does it take, do you think, right, for let's say someone like us, in the 40s, I'm just assuming, or 50s, to make this kind of company or like a FinTech or a young tech company, how to say, say, actually, this guy is actually quite good. I thought I would hire someone younger. I thought I would hire a grad, but this guy is good. I mean, have you seen that happening? And under what circumstances have you seen that happening? I mean, just to find out whether in your conversations with those founders, have they shared any success stories?
I give two perspectives. Right. First is like, age is a real issue. I mean, like it or not, right? When you're younger in general, you have less legacy baggage. You would not mind reporting to someone young because you are young in the first place, right? I think this is something that a lot of the mid-career will have to overcome. The other thing is that the most of the FinTech startup, they can't afford to pay as well as a bank, for example. And the other thing is also, I think it's a fact that typically the younger you are, the faster you can learn. Like it or not, it has been my experience.
Biology is
that,
yeah, okay.
yeah. So and the other thing is that many of the startups, right, they are looking for people with already with experience, because the way the industry structure is that this startup usually they only have enough funding for 1 year or 2 year. So during that 1 year or 2 year, they have to deliver stuff. They cannot afford to train you for 1 year and wait for you to be productive.
I see.
Okay. So what it means is what it means is that if you want to come into this sector, right, you have to start reskilling and upskilling from yesterday already, not now. Okay. So that is probably the less optimistic angle. So now let me give you the positive angle, because like unlike 5 years ago when FinTech is still relatively young, 5 years now, I shared that the industry has grew by 10 times.
Yeah.
So a lot of these companies has become more mature. They have bigger funding rounds. I shared that we had record investment in this sector last year, and I think this year will continue. What it means is that a lot of these companies now, they are maturing. They will be recruiting more people, and as they recruit more people, they will start looking at more diversity. So I think in general is quite optimistic, because I think now, unlike 5 years ago, FinTech is more or less mainstream already. Even hawkers are accepting digital payments, right?
Right.
Yeah. So that's my plus and minus perspective on this. But more importantly is that I think regardless whether is it FinTech, blockchain, or any other sector, you have to get ready early. Yeah, don't wait until like you want to switch, then you start training yourself.
Understand. So that means, if I may summarize certain things, for our friends here, and please correct me if I'm wrong, feel free to add. I think the critical thing, right, is for mid-careers who want to go into FinTech, or maybe something that's quite fast-paced and stuff, right? I think like when you answered those previous 2 or 3 questions. So the summary is basically, upskill is very important. Make sure that you have something to show, and that's one. So what I'm also hearing is that make sure that there's a platform for you to showcase what you have learned. That's number 2. Number 3, soft skills is very important. And also, I suppose on that last question I asked you, you mentioned they can't wait for you 1 year. So that means adopting sort of an agile mindset, very, very kind of like roll with the punches, kind of like not very old-fashioned way of thinking, but very agile way of thinking, of reacting to things. And also on the practical side, be very have your expectation managed lah. For example, like what you mentioned, you will not get paid like a bank, right? But you're in it for the long game, for example. So manage. Would you say that that's a correct kind of summary? Is there anything else that you might add?
Yeah, because like I mean, you summarize it perfectly. I think very importantly is that you must demonstrate that you can be immediately productive. How can you be immediately productive unless you already have acquired the skills by practicing it? Okay, and then the other thing also in terms of compensation, many of these are startups. So you have to look at the overall compensation. Typically, they will have what we call employee shares options program. So that will be part of the entire compensation package.
So basically, so that one is the making sure that if you are going to embark in this path, make sure that on the expectation parts in terms of dollars and cents, that you are in a position where you can actually accept that lah. Because if you have like 8 children to feed, or big family to feed, then maybe the compensation might not work. Not because you don't want to, but it's just because the numbers may not work lah. So that's one of those considerations lah. Okay, so I guess now there's a few questions, but before I go, I want to ask you I mean, this is just an overall. So this is more philosophical question for yourself. Hao Lai, what is the overall focus of your professional life? As in, like, what are your personal missions and goals? As you find yourself allied to this sector, right? Or the roles or the advisory positions that you have, and so on and so forth. I mean, what's your own legacy that you would like to leave? For next better player or whatever it might be, right? Like everything that you do now. I mean, what is it all for you?
Yeah, actually, for me nowadays, I divide my time into three chunks. One third of my time I spend on my consulting business because after all I have bills to pay, young mouths to feed. Okay, so I do quite a number of consulting and advisory role. So my compensation is fixed salary, consultation fee, and also sometimes equity stakes in this startup. And then the other one third of my time I spend on non-profit work. To be frank, I mean, now I am the co-chairman for the Blockchain Association Singapore, an association I founded in late 2018. So this association work took up a lot of my time because all these are like startup. Because when we started, there's no resources, right? Everything has to be built from scratch, from website to membership system to running the events to recruit members, and all this. No money comes to your pocket. It's really the passion and desire
Passion and
to
love,
grow the
yeah.
ecosystem. Yeah, that's the only thing that can sustain the amount of time that I spend onto association building. The other one third of my time is actually spent on learning. To be frank, this sector, fintech and now blockchain, right, moves very, very fast. I spend as much as one third of my time picking up on new knowledge. Of course, the good thing is that because these are exciting and sexy areas, right, there are a lot of thought leadership reports into these topics, whether it's in metaverse, NFT, decentralized finance, GameFi, a lot of material out there. Yeah. So you can see that by spending time on, I'm still learning. Okay. But because of all this, right, it helps in my consulting role. It also helps me to perform my role in the non-profit. Yeah. So this is how I am seeing things.
Got it. Okay. So I'm looking at some of the questions, and I kind of feel that if in answering some of these questions, I might have to repeat a little bit, huh?
Yeah.
So the first one that came in like almost like 20 minutes ago, is basically this. Where does the local fintech community hang out? Physical? Meetup, is there a GitHub, Telegram, Discord? How can an outsider interested in moving towards the space best on ramp into the, as in like on board into the community? What's your advice for this person?
Yeah, I think pre-COVID, right, it was a lot easier. Like I remember we were organizing like at least 2 events a month, open to public to participate, because nothing beats face-to-face.
Yeah.
I mean, attending these talks is not just only about acquiring knowledge, it's also about knowing people. Having said that, I think there are still in-person events being organized by both Singapore FinTech Association and Blockchain Association Singapore and many other tech associations. So go to the website of this association to see how you can participate in the activities. Yeah, and then the other thing is really like sometimes, right, just go to LinkedIn and send a request and ask how to be involved. Okay. Yeah, I tell you, like every day I will have a few such requests. To be frank, 5 years back, I don't even have a LinkedIn account.
Okay.
But today I have like more than 17,000 followers.
Yeah, I know. I saw.
Yeah, so it's LinkedIn, I think is a tremendous resource.
I share,
right, when I started both the FinTech and the Blockchain Association, we don't have marketing budget.
Yeah.
But the LinkedIn is the free marketing platform for you.
I agree. I agree. I've been like, I spent like so many years, like, okay lah, I mean, 8, 9 years or 7, 8 years. I was like, oh, I shook. I got 3,000. Then I see people like you are 17,000, you know, like, okay, I got a long way to go. But yeah, I totally agree. LinkedIn is wonderful. It's one of the first, it's basically one of among my first taps every morning when I wake up. So again, for our friends here, if you don't have an account, I think it's time to get one. Okay. So the next question is, like knowing what you know today, if you were starting from the outside and had 24 to 48 months, 2 to 4 years to evolve into fintech, what are the hottest areas in your view? Oh, that's part one. What would you do to get into these roles? What are the essential skills you would learn if you were on a tight budget? And on the reverse, right? What are the courses you would take if money is not a problem? I think you can see the question, right? 252. Yeah.
You were starting from the outside and had 24 to 48 months. Okay, I mean, to be frank, currently the hottest sector now, what we are seeing is really digital assets and blockchain. I think what the kind of growth that I'm observing now is like FinTech 3 years back. So to me, I mean, I will not go FinTech. I'll start picking up knowledge regarding digital assets and blockchain now, because it still have a longer runway to grow. In fact, I mean, just now I shared the statistics that almost half of the fundraisings are in the blockchain and the crypto space. Yeah. So the good thing about Singapore, especially for Singapore residents, right? Whether it's citizens or PRs, right? We have highly subsidized courses from SkillsFuture, including those from IBF, up to 90%, especially if you are mid-career, you only pay 10% of it. These are the perfect platform for you to pick up new knowledges.
Agree.
Yeah, so that would be my advice. I mean, if I were to start now, right, I'll learn about blockchain and digital asset. It's a lot wider now. It's no longer just about cryptocurrency now, and it's no longer just about enterprise blockchain nowadays. We have decentralized finance. We have NFTs, and now in metaverse, a lot the foundational tech of metaverse will be blockchain. That's my view. Yeah.
And then I was going to ask a question. Okay, so sorry, I forgot the part. So we just go to the next one. There's a link, as you can see, the anonymous attendee about the metaverse and the NFT is going to go bust.
Okay.
Yeah. I just clicked on the article as well. Do you agree or disagree with the author that NFT bust might be coming? Do you have any opinions or views on it?
Okay, I didn't click on the link, but this is one of the most frequent question I receive.
Oh, okay.
So I already have a canned response to that.
Okay.
Yeah, I think now there's a lot of speculative bubble in NFT. In fact, if you look at a lot of some of the studies, right, up to 90% of the trades that you see are wash trading. What is wash trading? Basically is the left hand sell to right hand. All these are fake sales. Okay. Having said that, right, I think the technology is here to last. In fact, we are just barely scratching the surface of NFT. NFT can have a lot of other uses, including things like interactive NFT. No longer is just static images, right? NFT can be representing your educational certificate, can even be your digital identity. NFT can also, we can also allow some real world assets to be tokenized into an NFT, including real estate or even car park lots. Because I think there is a project in Australia, they actually tokenize car park lots into NFT to make it easier to trade. Because in car parks are income generating asset in Australia, and I think in Hong Kong also. It can also be you can also tokenize, for example, your like endowment life policy into NFT, because your policy gains cash value over time. Rather, if you need cash, right, rather than surrendering to the insurance company, which you will get very low return, because the bulk of your return is during your maturity value. Why not someone tokenize it into NFT and allows you to sell? Okay. And also there are projects that actually take NFT as collateral so that you can have land, so that you can use it to get loans with NFT as a collateral. And there are still many other developments. So I think we are barely scratching the surface of NFT. I agree that currently there is a lot of speculation, but I think there are also many exciting use cases of NFT that has not been explored yet. Yeah.
Okay, Ken. Because just a side note, I always like to discuss these things, right, with my colleagues, having coffee with them, asking about NFT, like, wow, how do people like sell a piece of artwork for $70 million? Like, you know, like for example, and then if I'm not an artist, what can I do? How do I get onto the, get into the bubble, right? How do I get into the bandwagon? And then we're talking about, maybe I should just set up a mining rig and then let it run 24/7 and then, earn $20 a day. Then ROI would be in about a year. So I think I find that thing like incredibly exciting, Only thing is that, if building a mining rig, the electricity price is so high, I think you spend more money on electricity than getting your money back. So I think it's very, very, very interesting. Okay, so appreciate your perspective. Okay, so another question would be, again, quite a targeted question, as you can see, about the what are the most promising or pre-unicorn top 20 early stage hypergrowth local companies that you think we should watch and perhaps join or work? And any thoughts on anything, any hot firms that we should be looking out for locally now? Keep an eye out.
Okay, to be frank, there are so many. Like I shared, I mean, there are, I think, easily at least 1,500 fintech and blockchain startups now operating in Singapore. I don't think I will be giving you a top 20 list.
Okay.
Some of them are very exciting. For example, like this company called Chainalysis, they moved their regional HQ to Singapore. So basically, they are what we call as a blockchain analytics firm. They actually analyze blockchain data in order to find out like how people are laundering money, so you can then easily trace and then catch the criminals lah. And they are equivalent kind of companies in the NFT space. So there's this company called Nansen. Okay. And then similarly for decentralized finance, there are also companies that are providing this kind of analytics. Okay. The other exciting areas are because I think that the decentralized finance will go institutional in the next few years. So there are many startups that are now providing the kind of support or infrastructure services. Companies that provide custody services like Fireblocks, companies like Block Daemon, they provide the blockchain infrastructure, because in order to do staking, in order to do many other services, you do have to operate your own node. But at the institutional level, you need bank grade kind of infrastructure. Yeah, so I won't go into very specific companies, but I think broadly I can see, because nowadays I focus a lot more on digital assets, and I think this is where the next 3 to 5 years will be a lot more exciting. In fact, to be frank, over the last 6 months, a lot of fintech companies approaching me. How do they get into digital assets? Yeah. So these are signs of things to come.
Okay, digital assets, got it. Okay, something to investigate. So there are some interesting questions that are coming, but before that, before I forget, just can I trouble Elisa to just launch the quick survey, and then also can we flash our IBF Careers Connect email address? Now, for everyone here, as you know, if you're not new to our sessions, the survey allows us to really understand whether you enjoyed the session and what kind of programming you want to see in the future. So please take this 15 to 20 seconds. That's all you need, maybe even less, to help us fill out this survey. Will be very much appreciated. And also, moving forward, any one of you who wants to have a further discussion with a career advisor about your career journey and planning and so on and so forth, please write to the email that you see on the screen right now. And thank you in advance for everybody's participating in the poll and going to be writing to us. Let's carry on, Hoplai. Yeah. Okay, this one is quite a very interesting question, and I get this one a lot as well. So for compliance and AML professionals, right, what do fintechs look for when hiring such personnel, and how do we get into this part of compliance and AML fintech, for example, right, or RegTech? Would there be any relevant courses or programs that to take, or perhaps that you can recommend, for example? Again, this one very pointed question. Don't know whether you are able to.
Okay, so many fintech companies are involved in the regulated activities, so definitely they will need the compliance hirings. Of course, but typically they will look for people who already know what is fintech, what are the kind of technologies they have. And then sometimes in fact, one of the fastest growing again is people who can do compliance for digital assets. Yeah, because digital assets is a regulated activity in Singapore, regulated under the Payment Services Act for those cryptocurrencies, and if the security tokens is regulated under the Securities Futures Act. So you do need compliance officers also. But what is different is that the way you do compliance for digital assets are very different from traditional kind of financial products. So you do, for example, just like I mentioned about this company called Chainalysis, right? You do need to be able to use this kind of tool to be able to help you to, let's say, find out the source of funds, flow of funds, and things like this. Yeah. So in terms of training, right? Just like I mentioned, right? You first of all you need foundational knowledge of fintech and blockchain. So I think there are a lot of courses related to that. The other thing that is very specific to digital assets compliance, right? I'm selling a little bit of Koyo now.
Go ahead and sell.
We collaborated, Blockchain Association Singapore, we collaborated with Global FinTech Institute, which I'm a co-founder, and also Elliptic, another blockchain analytics firm, to come to have launched this program called Digital Assets Compliance Program. I think our next run is in mid-April. Yeah, so this is one such program for you to get into this space so that you can understand how compliance is different in digital assets. Yeah.
Understand. Okay, cool. Okay, and then this one is a fun question. Like, what are you learning now? What have you needed to learn? What do you think you need to learn but have yet to start learning?
Okay, to be frank, I think I spent a lot of my time in building the ecosystem. What I miss most is really because I like to tinker with things. So I could have spent more time in sharpening and deepening my skills in AI and machine learning.
Okay,
that's one, and also in more advanced smart contract, because I think decentralized finance is going to be big. So I'm still trying to find time so that I can deep dive into those two areas, because after all, inside me, I'm still a nerd. Yeah.
You're still nerd. I like that. Okay, and then one more question from the audience, and then maybe one more from me, and then obviously I know you have a tight schedule, so let you go. Vincent. So Vincent, thanks for revealing who you are. Vincent asked, in your view, with fintech sector growing so rapidly, what are your thoughts on the banks? What do you think is left for them?
Okay. The good news is that at least in Singapore, 80% of the fintechs are actually B2B. For a few reasons, like Singapore is a very small retail market, only 5.6 million. There's not much meat for the fintech companies already. Okay, why B2B? Because Singapore is one of the leading financial centers. So there are a lot of big banks in Singapore. I think we have more than 200 banks in Singapore. So B2B is a huge space. So you can see that actually if you look at the stock prices of like DBS and UOB, you know they are not affected already, because these banks, right, they already started their digital transformation journey 5 years ago. I think since 2015. So I think fintech makes a difference mainly in areas that the traditional banks are not able to do well. In particular, things related to financial inclusion. Like, for example, enabling financing for SMEs or micro SMEs of those who are unbanked or underbanked, which in Singapore are a lot fewer. So the opportunity is actually more in our region, the Southeast Asia region, where half of the population don't have access to any bank accounts. That's why you see things like digital wallets are growing like nobody's business in countries like Indonesia, because a lot of them, right, their first foray into financial services is through a digital wallet making a payment. Some of them are using the digital wallets to receive their salary nowadays.
Correct. Yeah. Okay, got it. I think cognizant of time, I mean, we can go on forever already, but I want to kind of like bring the session home by just this one final thing. In the day-to-day work that the career advisors do, we see a lot of people who are perhaps they're feeling a bit daunted about this whole new world, or this new adventure that they're about to embark on in fintech, or indeed technology for instance. Parting words from you, like in terms of those people who are in that mindset of, I don't know whether I can do this or not, and how do I do this? Just basically just words of encouragement, thoughts, reflections from you to to send our guests, attendees off, feeling enthusiastic and feeling confident and hopeful for their future.
I always remember this phrase. I don't know who is the author. Basically, it's like, if you are doing the same thing, right, you get the same results. Yeah. So if you look at, actually, I mean, personally, I'm an introvert. You might not, yeah, but because like in order to grow the ecosystem, you have to be more like outgoing. You need to really hustle, like a startup, right? Really hustle people to join, to partner with you and that kind of thing. And if you look at me as an example, right, 5 years ago, I know nothing about fintech and blockchain at all.
Precisely. That's why I found it to be, I mean, you being here as a guest is so interesting because people are there now because I don't know anything about anything. So yeah, so I mean, words from you will be very, very useful because you overcame the no knowledge and then you become SFA president, for example. Yeah. So words of wisdom would be great, lah. Yeah.
Yeah. So and that's why I mean really I think the most important thing is that we have to take charge of our own career. Don't rely on the company to provide the training for you. Go to source for your own training. Be willing to step out of your comfort zone to do that. And really in Singapore, we are very, very lucky. I mean, for example, I mean, IBF is able to provide a lot of help to us. Skills Future Singapore, so many subsidized courses for you. So what is now lacking, right, is really how is really for people like us, right, to take the own initiative and start upgrading. I mean, to be frank, I myself, I shared, right, I'm still learning a lot of things. I think next few months I'm going for a few formal courses, and one of them I'm going to take is actually this these courses that allow myself to be trained as an adult educator. I think it's called ACLP. So even like I'm still learning. Yeah, I'm already, to be frank, I'm already 48 years old. So I'm not young. Yeah, so really very important. We have to be responsible and take accountability of our own career lah.
Basically, yeah lah. So basically, don't do, it's like what you mentioned, you do the same thing in the same way, you get the same result. So basically push yourself out of those boundaries and do something different, dare to do something different, learn something new and just get out of that comfort zone. That's what you're saying. Okay, great. I mean, I guess with that, hopefully the people who join us, I want to say thank you to everybody for joining us. And I hope that you managed to get some nuggets of wisdom from Hok Lai. And, you know, as I mentioned, right, as long as any session that we do, as long as you come out of it and you feel like, okay, that's quite enlightening, I should do more of that, I should explore more of that, I should do less of something, I think it's a job well done for us. So I just want to also thank Hok Lai for spending this hour with us. Thank you so much, Hok Lai. And we'll look forward to the next time we see you again. But I learned quite a lot of things from you, and you might not notice, but I'm actually writing notes on my table about some of the things that you said, some of the things that we should look out for. And I hope to be able to share this with our job seekers as well when I meet them. So thanks again to everybody who joined us. I guess that's all that's left, is to wish everybody a wonderful rest of the week, good weekend. And once again, Hok Lai, thanks so much for being here. Should let you go with our thanks lah. Take care. All right. Okay. Bye everybody.